What's up, y'all? This is John and Caleb back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. As always, you can find us on Millions and as a part of the Fans First Sports Network. Tonight, it is the Golden Kegs. We are going through this year's awards. And I'm going to be honest, I don't remember doing them last year. Do you?
I don't actually. Not that season deserved to have them, but I don't remember them.
Fair, yeah. So this would be our third, 22, 23, 25, skip 24. So this is the third Golden Kegs. But you know, we are looking forward to it. And if you guys are on YouTube, we are about to have to shut down the stream a minute in because it's just not, for whatever reason, the stream's not streaming. The beaver built a dam somewhere in the middle of it because it is stopped. So if you're on YouTube watching us, check back tomorrow or in a couple hours and you will find us a video there. Sorry about it.
Unfortunate, but that's just what happens sometimes.
Yeah, we're trying to get back to doing our lives once or twice a week. But in this situation, I don't know why. It's not having it. But we are super excited about the Golden Kegs, so much so that the voting technically still ongoing. You
Ooh,
guys could potentially have your say about it right now, as long as it is after we get, or as long as it's before, I should say, we go to announce that award. So we're super excited about it. I know I've said that before, but before we get into all that, how you been? What are you drinking?
I have been okay. Just trying to catch up on sleep as much as I can, and
The
I have
fallacy
been,
that is catching up on sleep.
yeah, never really happens. And I am drinking. I thought I'd bust out some fancy cheap, not cheap wine, an anagram of that, peach wine, for the occasion. Uh, for a big fancy award show like this.
And for a big fancy award show like this, I have a caffeine-free Diet Coke with the last of my Evan Williams bottled and bond in it
There we go.
because I I take like 2 sips out of this caffeine-free Diet Coke with dinner. I brought it in here to record, and I was looking around. And I was like, "What on my desk is crappy enough to put in this and not feel bad about it?" And ended up being the Evan Williams.
All right.
Also, guys, I am technically on call for this episode and our next one. So if in the middle of the episode I just get up and have to go, that's because my real job is paying me to do that. So sorry, but y'all don't support us quite enough yet for me to quit my real job. So you just kind of have to deal with it.
Yeah, that is what it is.
All right. Before we get into this year's Golden Kegs, vote for us in Connect Savannah's best podcast in Savannah. You can just Google Connect Savannah's best of Savannah, find local podcast, Nothing Fighter podcast, vote there. And I said it in the last episode, I have been told that if you go through different browsers, you can vote multiple times, multiple emails. I don't know if that's true. It's just what I've been told. So if you guys want to test that out, I'm not going to be mad at it. Caleb may be, because we will still have to kidnap them.
Yeah, that's true. I don't necessarily want to be kidnapped, but I'll do it for the pod.
Or, you could just bring the family down to my house. I do have 4 bedrooms.
Fair enough.
But the Golden Kegs. We're going to start it off with Offensive Freshman of the Year. And we have 3 names that were nominated. We have Juan Gaston, Dontrell Glover, and Bo Walker, all nominated. Juan Gaston, obviously, he played guard and tackle for pretty much the entire season when he was healthy. I don't think he missed a start when healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And played phenomenal. He was one of the few guys that all year we had no questions about on the offensive line. Dontrell Glover was one of those guys that got tossed in to play. Probably was not ready when he first got in, but he played.
He stepped up.
I was going to say he played most of the season as
Yeah.
a true freshman at right or left guard, depending on who was injured at the time. And I think he did a phenomenal job. And then Bo Walker's somebody that everybody that watched that Charlotte game is so excited about. But we didn't quite see as much of him as people probably wanted to, just because of the dominance of Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens throughout the season, especially in some of these bigger games. And then Josh McCray, just the bowling ball of a human that he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the Offensive Freshman of the Year, Juan Gaston. He won with 59% of the vote. Dontrell Glover 29%, Bo Walker 12. So I feel like based on playing time, it's pretty evenly split. But man, one deserves it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say otherwise. I feel like, as much as I love Dontrell Glover and think he came and stepped in, Juan Gaston has been a freak from the moment he stepped on the field. Like, he wasn't just going to be in there because we had so many people dinged up on offensive line. He was going to be in there because he was that good.
For sure, for sure. And so I do want to go ahead and get into defensive fraction of the year. 3 nominees: Rayshawn Jenkins, Elijah Griffin, and Zayden Walker. And I will say, I'm a little disappointed because Rayshawn Jenkins got 0 votes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see, because when I made my pick, when I put in my nomination for this, I was like, it's got to be Rayshawn Jenkins, so this is kind of irrelevant. And he didn't get a single vote.
Not a single vote. And I will say, we actually, because I was the first one to put my nominations in, I didn't want to take all the guys that I thought would win, right? So I went with guys that I'm like, oh, I think he had played a major role, so I don't necessarily think other people are going to say him. So Rayshawn Jenkins, hand up, that's mine. I thought star is one of, if not the most difficult position to play in Kirby Smart defense. He did it as a freshman in the most difficult games of the year due to injuries and suspensions and targetings, whatever else it was. Rayshawn came in and played his ass off, and played his ass off well. It's not like he came in and got tore up. This guy came in as a kid, for all intents and purposes, and played extremely well. But I understand that most people don't necessarily pay a ton of attention, or probably don't understand how difficult it is to play the star position in Kirby Smart defense. Also, he did only play, I would say, I know he played in the Georgia Tech game. I know he played in the SEC championship game. I know he played in the Super Bowl. But outside of that, he didn't get a ton of playing time, but he made a very big impact in those 3 very important games.
Mm-hmm.
So no one on the show, like, I can tell you that if we got to vote, Rayshawn would have more than 0 votes. But the winner of Defensive Freshman of the Year, and it came down to a single vote right before we got on the podcast. It is Elijah Griffin.
Yeah.
This is a guy that I thought probably should have been, as a guy who, shout out Savannah, came from Savannah, went up to Athens, and just pretty much played from day one as true freshman in the trenches. Like we talked about with Juan Gaston, that's next to impossible to do in the SEC. Both of these guys did it at an extremely high level this year, and there's a reason they both won.
Absolutely, yeah. No complaints from me. 2 massive dudes who made an impact day one getting these awards. Yeah.
All right, so moving on to Offensive Player of the Year, and this is one that I thought was going to be very hotly contested before we even got into the voting, and it wasn't as hotly contested as I thought. But
really?
The 3 nominees, Zachariah Branch, Nate Frazier, and Gunnar Stockton, all 3 of those guys, it's so important to where Georgia went this year.
There are games that we lose without all of them, for sure.
Right. If Zachariah Branch hasn't played a couple games this season, obvious loss. Nate Frazier, obvious loss. Gunnar Stockton, more than one obvious loss without Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm being honest, guys, it was a landslide, absolute landslide for Offensive Player of the Year. And man, so here's the thing, I get it to some extent, but man, I'm trying to pull up the stats here, so I'm dodging a little bit. But the winner of the Offensive Player of the Year, Zachariah Branch, and I'm not saying he didn't deserve it.
It is hard to argue, but
to win 6-1-1 in votes, and 6-1-1 because somebody apparently realized 2 days into voting that if you schedule a post on Instagram, you cannot add a poll to the post. So then yesterday I had to put in a story with a poll instead of just a regular. I'm dumb. I understand that. But Zachariah Branch did break the Georgia single season receptions record. 81 catches for 811 yards, 10 yards per reception, right at 60 yards a game. I mean, just he had an all-time season, if we're being entirely honest, for a Georgia wide receiver. But man, for Nate and Gunnar both get 1 vote, I thought that was pretty shocking.
Yeah, I am fairly surprised by that. 1 vote does not seem like enough for sure.
Should we put asterisks next to the awards that I'm dumb and didn't realize you could add a poll to schedule post?
I mean,
because they went 2 days before I realized that no one was able to vote on them.
Right. That is what it is.
All right, it's what it is. But I mean, Zachariah Branch definitely deserves all of the recognition. I hate that he was only a Georgia player for 1 season. But I do just want to hype up Nate Frazier a little bit, because 947 yards is the most of a Georgia running back since 2019.
Wow.
Let's not pretend that Nate had some sort of mid-season. And to be fair, he had more touchdowns last season than he had this year. But do you care about the number of touchdowns he had?
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't either. I mean, he had 16 receptions for 116 yards on top of that. Uh, and so the big difference between last year and this year as far as rushing touchdowns is this year, Jordan had a guy, I'm sure you guys know the name by now, Gunnar Stockton, who got a lot of the red zone carries. Right?
Mhm.
It's not like Jordan wasn't running the ball because Gunnar Stockton had. I'm trying to pull up his rushing stats. He had 10 rushing touchdowns this year.
Mm.
So he took away a number of those from Nate. Just so Gunner, by the way, 69% completion percentage, 2,894 yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and then 14 carries for 124 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Some
Right?
would say that's good.
Yeah, some would say that is fantastic for
Yeah.
what we kind of expected out of the offense going into the year. So, moving into defensive player of the year, nominees C.J. Allen, Ellis Robinson Ford, and Chris Cole. Chris Cole, obviously we found out in the last 24 hours, ran into a little bit of legal problems.
Yeah, that's no good. I mean, I guess that's par for the course around here, but you hate to see it.
Yeah, and I will say my issue with that is all these players come out after they get in trouble and they're like, I realize what it means to wear this jersey, be a part of this program. I'm not going to take it for granted. I'm going to change my behavior. Man, you're a junior now. Why
Right.
didn't you realize that 2 years ago? Why didn't you realize
Yeah.
that pre-arrest? And to be fair, if these boys really deserve to be arrested, their bail would have been set for more than, I don't know, what did Chris Cole pay? $26.
Something like that. Yeah.
And the other kid paid $39. So if they really deserve to be arrested, and Georgia football players are not just over police in Athens, Clark County, I would say their bail would probably be a little bit more than $20 to $40.
Yeah. That's valid.
So should he have been doing whatever he was? No. Would anybody else that did not play for the football team would they have gotten arrested? Probably not.
No.
So
That is just kind of how it goes in Athens, Clark County. We found.
get into defensive player of the year, and the winner is C.J. Allen getting 75% of the vote.
This guy was constantly all over the field making plays.
And I know Georgia fans probably get tired of the comp here, but C.J. Allen, and this is something that we see frequently in the Kirby Smart defense, but C.J. Allen, I think, was the closest player to Roquan Smith that we have seen since Roquan Smith.
Yeah, I won't argue with that.
And I'm not saying he was Roquan Smith, because I understand that Roquan finished top 10 in the Heisman voting. He won the linebacker award. He won the defensive Heisman award that year. The key was the best defensive player in the country in 2017. I'm not going to say that C.J. Allen was the best defensive player in the country in 2025. But for C.J. to have come in and as a freshman pushed 5-star starters out of their jobs, it's impressive. For C.J. to have come in and immediately been gotten comps to first-round draft picks is impressive.
Yeah.
For him to have come in, and this year, he played one less game than every other game of his career. He had 8 more tackles than any other season in his career. He had 2.5 more sacks than any other game in his career this season.
Yeah.
And he had more fumble recoveries, the same amount of passes defended. CJ had a career year in a year that he did not miss many games. And this is so what Kirby Smart does with his defenses. And if you've heard me say this before, I keep saying it because no one pays attention. But Kirby Smart, his leading inside linebacker is the quarterback of the defense. They call the plays, they put everybody else in the right position, and that was CJ from day one. So
in a position where leadership was completely required.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not he couldn't have been. Oh, I'm a freshman. I don't know what's going on. He had to be an alpha from day one, and he was. And I think he's going to be. We're probably going to do a list at some point in the offseason because it's a long offseason about players that Georgia is going to miss the most going into 2026. And spoiler, C.J. Allen is my number one.
Yeah. Fair, honestly. He's going to make some defense very happy. The same way Kobe Dean did with the Philadelphia Eagles, just because of his mind.
I will say C.J. Allen currently being mocked to the Detroit Lions.
Unfortunate. All right.
Yep. Take a drink because, boy. All right. So for the play of the year, and normally had this not been an absolutely insane week at work and everything else going on in life, I would have gotten clips, and for the YouTube audience, we would have played the clips when I announced each of these names. But the 3 nominations for play of the year: goal line fumble recovery should have been for a touchdown at Auburn.
Yeah, that definitely should have been a touchdown.
4th down touchdown to London Humphreys in the game of the year against Tennessee. And then we do have a bonus on this, an honorable mention. So Josh McCray 4th down conversion versus Ole Miss, and then Cash Jones onside kick recovery versus Texas.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that one didn't make it in. I was a little surprised the Cole Spear blocked punt didn't make it in to this, but there's a lot of good plays. What can you do? But those, I would definitely mention those 2.
And so, would it surprise you if I said this was our biggest landslide of any vote?
Yeah, very much so. That would be a huge surprise.
All right. The winner of this one: 4th down touchdown by London Humphreys at Tennessee. And when I say landslide, 93% of the vote.
Wow.
Goal line fumble recovery, Auburn 5%. Josh McCray 4th down conversion against Ole Miss with 2. Absolute domination by the London Humphreys touchdown there. And to be fair, early in the season, Georgia playing like crap. They get into this game in which, I'll be honest, Georgia absolutely, in no way, shape, or form, should have won that game at Tennessee. They get that touchdown, and then somehow allow Tennessee to go down the field. And then somehow Tennessee allows themselves to miss a kick to get it into overtime. And I can tell you that had they made that kick, that London Humphreys touchdown is not even nominated for this play.
No, it sure isn't.
So, like, absolutely, I think each one of these 4 plays, this is the honorable mention, I think each one of these 4 plays absolutely was season defining. And I think it's also fitting that each one of these comes, like, Tennessee is very early in the season, Auburn's midway point, Ole Miss is a few weeks later, and then Texas towards the end of the season. They kind of each define a phase of the season as we go along. But no, without any of these plays, Georgia doesn't get to the SEC championship and win back-to-back SEC titles and lose back-to-back Sugar Bowls. That stain is worn off of me. I'm now mad about it. Yeah, no, without any of these, it doesn't happen. But that London Humphreys play, just the perfection of it.
Yeah, because you can't forget too that going into that game, we had seen 2 games before then. Well, 3 games, I guess, of Gunnar Stockton as a starter, and he did good things and got the ball moving down the field. But we hadn't seen that throw that really shows. Oh, this guy's like a really great quarterback. Yeah, exactly. This guy's a great quarterback, and not just a really great football player. I mean, we saw that with this throw for the first time, and said, "Oh my goodness, we've got something here."
And it doesn't hurt that multiple national media individuals had talked about how Georgia's going to lose this game going into Knoxville, and they should have, but they didn't.
Yeah, arguably, but
because Gunnar is that guy.
Yeah.
All right, moving into breakout player of the year.
And let me explain, because I don't think Zachariah Branch was nominated, was he?
Nobody was technically nominated because it never got posted.
Oh, no.
I've been having issues with the schedule post on Instagram, and that would be one of them. All right, Mark Zuckerberg, I know you're up at DC getting real about something else, but you can do jujitsu, but you're still about to catch some hands.
Right.
Because why have features that don't work?
Valid.
Anyways, so we don't have breakout player of the year, but I will go ahead and tell you nominees: Chauncey Bowens, Ellis Robinson, Lawson Lucky. They all absolutely deserve the award. I think that probably would have been the closest voting of the entire awards tonight.
Most definitely.
But you know what? I'll probably post it, and then we can announce it on the episode on Monday.
Fair enough. Okay, so we'll basically talk about the nominees then.
Yes. While I'm trying to not fight Mark Zuckerberg from far away.
That's difficult to do, but that is what it is. I've been saying it is what it is a lot tonight, and I apologize to the audience for that. That must be dreadful to hear. It do. It be that it do.
All right. So Chauncey Bowens, we talked about him quite a bit. He was one of my favorite players to watch this year, just based on what he did and how he progressed throughout the season. And this is going to shock you, truly. He only had 526 yards.
Yeah, baffling. Because it felt like he was exploding all the time. He should have gotten more than that.
So he was actually a lot more explosive on his receptions, interestingly enough.
Makes sense.
14 receptions for 82 yards. But he was great. Ellis just got better each and every week. And while we're talking about Ellis and his season as a whole, that play in the Alabama game, the pile was still moving. There were still being players running toward the pile on either side, trying to move it forwards or backwards. Ellis Robinson, the fourth, jumping onto that pile, did absolutely nothing, and the play was still going on. In no way, shape, or form was that a 50-yard penalty.
Yeah.
Just gonna say that. But also the Malachi Starks-like interception in Georgia Tech game, he made part of that. I cannot wait for Ellis Island to get even bigger going into 2026.
Facts.
And Lawson Lucky, I do not understand how it seems like we talked about him so frequently, and his stats look the way that they do. Because would it surprise you if I told you he had 9 less receptions than he did last season?
You talking about giving 9 less receptions?
No, Lawson Lucky.
Oh, sorry, Lawson Lucky. I thought you said Ellis Robinson for some reason.
No, Lawson Lucky.
Yeah. So here's the thing. In some ways it would, because he had those games where he went crazy, but then in some ways he wouldn't, because there were times where he just kind of wasn't there and Oscar Delp was running things.
Would it surprise you if I told you he had almost 200 less yards in 2024?
That, again, kind of. But, also, again, none of that surprised me just because of how much time he spent not being a huge part of the offense.
But simultaneously, he did have more touchdowns this year than any other year.
Yeah, so think about what you will. He was the man in the red zone this year, like at multiple times. That Ole Miss game, he was the one guy Gunnar was looking at.
Ask Pete Golding about Lawson Lucky.
Yep.
But we're going to post that tonight. We're going to go over the award winner for that on Monday. But our Pride and Joy Award. And
some might say this is what this podcast is all about.
Ironically. This is very intentionally. These are all very deceptively athletic, very lunch pail type of players. One of them may or may not have been just hated by
680 for the fan in particular.
Yeah, 680 the fan, or the ref, whatever they are.
I think it's the fan. 960.
They're 680 the irrelevant because they went from actual sports stakes to clip farming on Instagram. So.
Yep.
But we're talking about the Lumberjack Award. This is something that we hold very near and dear to our hearts, and this was. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. It was not intentionally 3 white guys.
Yeah.
But this was one of our tighter races of the evening, and the winner of this is Gunnar Stockton. Gunnar Stockton beat out Cash Jones and Cole Spear. And I understand Cole Spear did not do a lot. He's been with the program for quite some time. He's been a special teamer. He has fought his ass off to get where he is. And that play in the SEC title game will go down in history for Georgia football fans.
Yeah, it will.
So, if you're saying Cole Spear don't deserve to be here, he's heard that before, and he blocked a punt in the SEC title game. What did you do?
Right.
But that is going to do it for the Golden Kegs for this year.
Well, can we talk real quick about Gunnar? We talked about people who didn't win.
We did. But we also talked about Gunnar with Offensive Player of the Year.
I guess that's true.
I say whatever you would like to about Gunnar.
I just wanted to point out there, that as surprising as it may be, that he can be looked at as one of the Lumberjack guys because of how far he has ascended. There was a time earlier this season where we were talking about naming it the Gunnar Stockton Lumberjack Award. because we were giving it to him so much.
He got the dirty yards and the dirty
Yes.
plays each and every week. And even, man, like I understand that Georgia fans probably do not want to hear about the Sugar Bowl, but the hits that Gunnar Stockton took
Hmm.
for you as Georgia fans, the hits he took for you in the Sugar Bowl, like you, each one of those probably felt like a prime Mike Tyson punch.
Right. That
And
one in particular where he makes the throw. He makes the throw in one of these cases as a
it's such a great catch by Colby too.
oh
Like
yeah. And
a
while
guy
he's
that
taking
should
his
have been
time,
talked about more in these awards, Colby.
yeah, poor guy. I hate everything that's happened to him.
But yeah, no, guy. Look, I'm sure some of y'all really are tired of hearing about Sugar Bowl. But if you not wake up every morning and think, or on the mornings that you think about Georgia football, which should be all of them, but you wake up thinking about Georgia football, thinking about back-to-back SEC title games, thinking about just going back the Tennessee game where Gunner makes you guys miss, gets in the end zone, or the only team where does the same thing, Texas game where he gets his ass beat, the Auburn game where he gets Kirby grabbing him by the face mask and screaming at him on the sideline for getting that just all-time John Elway-esque touchdown over the pylon, and then where he gets into about 12 car accidents in the Sugar Bowl for this team after we went through a season in 2024 where the quarterback clearly did not, or 2025, no, 2024, I'm right. Yeah. Looking down in the bottom right corner and seeing the year on my computer confused the hell out of me for a second. But 2024, we had a guy at quarterback who didn't care about Georgia. He didn't care about the team. He didn't care about players. He didn't care about fans. He didn't care about coaches. He cared about himself. Mm-hmm. And we go into 2025 with a guy we have a lot of questions about. But that same list of people and organizations, he is probably down 10 spots from everybody else. Like, Gunner probably cares about his siblings and dogs and cows and truck more than he cares about himself. Mm. So I don't care that he's starting quarterback. I don't care that he could have potentially been in the Heisman conversation this year. Probably will be next year.
Yeah.
He won the Lumberjack this year because of what he did each and every week.
Has everything to say.
All right. Y'all, please do not forget to vote for us for Connect Savannah's best podcast in Savannah. Rate and review the show 5 stars. All in all stuff. I don't feel like going through it tonight. But make sure to check our Instagram at nothing.finer.pod to vote for Breakout Player of the Year like we should have already done. Of course, Bird and I were getting into a fight. So please, check us out. We'll go Instagram live with me and Mark Zuckerberg get into a fight. Punches only though, because I don't that jiu-jitsu stuff. My joints are already bad enough. I don't mind breaking a finger or two, but I'm not gonna have ACLs worn by some lizard person. Mm-hmm. But other than y'all, there's nothing finer to win.
And Trump not a Georgia fan.
Recording stop.
I think I need to. I'm trying to not do. We're trying to do mouse based on pad, and it was just not trying to do it, and I almost had to shut it off to get a quick recording.
Gotcha. Well, good luck with that.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.